see if I can hopefully get people in here. Hello? How's it going? See, that doesn't sound too bad, really. I think it's more or less just a little bit still condensed because it is live, after all. Set my microphone up here, just on account of, so I can have some. How's it going today, everybody? I'm not even gonna lie. This is my first live cast in probably. I want to say this is my first live cast in probably 3 years. The last time I actually went live, I was still in college at the time because I had decent enough internet, and that's pretty much how that worked. So this is this is a bit new for me. I'm kind of debating on whether or not to put the comments up to the side, just to be able to see. I think the problem is if I put those up, I think everybody can see it. You know what I mean. Like I would rather be able to see it on my end and not have it show, like not show it as live chat. I think just being able to see it on my end would probably be better. But here we are, the ninth round of the JAG Sunday Series, and we are going to be heading towards the Suzuka International Racing Course in Japan for what should be a very, very entertaining round of the season. I'm going to go ahead and give a quick little. I don't even want to say track guide. Track guide's probably the wrong word because I'm playing on controller, and that's going to be probably like the last thing. I'm going to tell you right now, I tried, if you saw the test stream yesterday, I tried, live streaming, and I did a quick, like, test race, and I could not drive to save my life on controller. It has also been probably at least 2 years since I've done that competitively. But, yeah, welcome all for joining. Hopefully it's going to be quite good. Hopefully we're going to be good. I am live here. I'm just in the time trial at the moment. I want to give you all just not even so much of a track guide, but, just so that I can kind of accurately see what we're dealing with here. I don't know if I'm debating on whether or not to hold the microphone next to my mouth, like Murray Walker, just prop it here, except if I prop it here, I'll have to be probably standing. So I'm currently standing at the moment. We're going to go into just a little bit of a track guide here, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go over the driver and constructor standings as we have them. What I do want to throw in now is a big point, this being that none of the championships will be decided tonight. Reimer only has a 14-point lead over Patrick 78 heading into today, and I believe even the Mercedes team is not enough yet to clinch that championship. over the rest of the grid. So we're going to go out the track really quick. We're just going to kind of give a little bit of a of a guide here as we head into the Casio Triangle. Really quick, you can see I'm uncontrolled. You can hear it vibrate. This is not good. But coming out of the final corner here, down the mid straight, the only section of the track with the DRS for the activated here. Very, very difficult track to overtake. That is a very old-style circuit. As we head into the first corner here, now again, these braking zones can be taken differently probably every time. Ideally, you want to hit probably the inside of the apex there, and then round the corners, making sure not to, get to the outside, and then through the S's here. These are a beautiful section of corners that, again, just you take them differently every single time you get out on track, and it does prove to be one that catches people out by surprise. Through the S's, up through Dunlop curve now. Difficult one with the flying crest on top that, really gets in people's way. If people, spin out there, that is definitely going to be a problem. I've seen several drivers qualifying attempts ruined because of that sort of thing. Into Degner 1 and Degner 2. Now, very, I wouldn't say difficult corners, but it does set up the rest of this second sector here is what it does. Because then you exit that corner under the bridge and in towards the hairpin you go. Very similar to what we saw, kind of in Zandvoort even, maybe even in Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. You do kind of get a couple lines of racing through that section of the track. 200R now, flat out, down the side here, in towards the spoon curve. Braking zone's got to be hit correctly. Very easy to go wide there, very easy to go off track on the inside. You hit those inside curves, you do tend to get a bit of oversteer, the car does go around. Down the backstretch now. Heading towards, what is it? This is 150 on this one. Very fast left-handed corner, maybe a slight downshift if you're able. Hardly letting off the brake. Remember the old cars, you used to really have to, let off the gas. You almost took that corner as a braking zone. Through the final chicane there, got to be careful with the oversteer on exit heading into the final corner here. That does catch people by surprise. And that is pretty much what the lap looks like. I'll try to take this one at speed again. I'm uncontrolled. This is not great at all. I am usually on wheel. I haven't been uncontrolled up to 2 years, so this is painful already. Dunlop now. That's held it quite well there, I have to be said. By the way, if I'm either too loud or too quiet, please let me know. I have to have this set up today a little bit different, considering I'm downstairs and the echo's quite loud. So if I may be holding it next to my head, in front of my mouth, a little bit like a proper microphone, but. Yeah, okay, this is turning into a very unpretty lap. I think we're just going to end it here with that. But, so that's pretty much what Suzuka looks like here. Very simple track, and always, got the ability to have rain as well. That's the big problem with this track. It's very difficult to have one true good setup for, because you do get a lot of weather coming your way typically, and I'm sure we'll be looking at some today as well. And we have about 13 minutes until go time here. I'm just waiting for the invite from, I believe it's JAG Cheb this week. Could be wrong. So how's everybody doing today? See, this is where I have my mic close. It kind of sounds a little bit more professional streamer-like, but... Yeah, I think I am going to just leave comments off, though, because, quite frankly, I don't really want to be having to watch comments and getting... See, that's my problem. There's a lot of times where I'll be trying to watch something, and then I get distracted by something else, so having comments on would be a mess. Moderation helps everyone feel safe. Okay, that's great news. Appreciate that. I think what I am... Oh, we've got the invite from Cheb now, is what we've got. Mute microphone. Overlay options. How bad is that if we display the chat right there? Well, nothing happened. Capture options. Include party audio. Can you still hear me? Let me go into my phone here and see if I can still hear myself. Still hear me? Let me go into my... Yep, there we go. Okay. I must still be there. That's good. Good. Very good. Looks as if... beginning to get the grid in here. Hopefully everything stays okay. Again, I'm not going to say this is an untrusted internet connection, but again, this is my first time trying to attempt being live. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What I do know is I will try to have a backup recording in case that I can upload later if it doesn't work. But hopefully everything stays good here. Algeria's joined. Nivek has joined. Lewis has joined. Fear Luke has joined. I'm here. Jag Cheb is here. Stims is here. Well, if you were like me yesterday, it was Saturday, you tuned into the Formula E race because you had nothing better to do, quite frankly. Tuned into the Formula E race, and you watched Pascal Wehrlein take his, what seemed to be a rather commanding victory as well for him, which, you know, as far as Pascal Wehrlein goes, he has been a very great driver. Pretty much in the entirety of him being in Formula E, I think I often raise myself the question of why hasn't he, you know, gotten a proper chance in a good car in F1. Maybe it was one of those just like wrong place, wrong time situations. It could very well be the case. Because, you know, he does seem quite talented. He's definitely like probably the most noticeable driver in Formula E, 9 times out of 10. See, but now that... Can I try... I'm just going to try messing with the... what do you call it? I'm just going to try messing with the microphone just a little bit. It sounds slightly distorted. Hello. How's that? See, but even then, that still sounds way too much. Do I have to keep it out here? Is that it? It could be. Do you think I need to switch mic inputs as well? Do you think that could be it? Because I have like a crappy little like phone call type microphone that I don't typically use. It is my headset. I like it because it's only got the one ear. So what it is it has the one ear, so I can hear myself, but also hear the game audio, despite it being slightly, worse quality audio. But either way, I think it just fine. So if the microphone does get too loud, let me know in the comments, please. I'm going to try my best to keep it relatively. I do know enough to where if I get really loud, I hold it away from my face, type thing. But hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully it doesn't have to come to that. 10 drivers out of the 20. Well, it says 22. That's never really true now, is it? It's always just 20, especially for the. Especially just for the, what do you call it? Yeah, Reimer's got, 14 points over Patrick. Patrick's got about, I think, what was that? That's another 14 back to Cheb as well, isn't it? Cheb and Maple Lace battling it out there. They are 1 point separated for that third spot. That should be a good battle to look out for here. It seems like Cheb has done really well, this second half of the season, keeping it very... He's been, at the very least, a little bit consistent. I think where drivers like Reimer, have had a really great start to this championship, and these last couple of rounds have kind of started to maybe fade away just a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Again, Reimer, I want to reiterate this again, and I'll do this multiple times as well. I do not believe either of the championships could be clinched today. The drivers, definitely not. I doubt the constructors as well. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's only what is that? 17 points between first and second between Mercedes and Ferrari. And Ferrari's got a 1 point to Alpine. Alpine's got a point over Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo's got 3 points over Williams. In fact, Williams and Aston Martin are tied at 176. Look at Haas at 174. This is going to be a huge race for championship implications, is what it's going to be. That's going to be a massive factor in today's Grand Prix, hopefully. But as well, I'm hoping that everybody keeps it clean. Who do we have here? Algeri's in there. Nevek in as well. Maple Ace. Been a super quick driver this season. I feel like maybe sometimes doesn't have the results to actually prove how quick he's been. Can I just look at the previous result page here, perhaps? See, Maple Ace came home P8. After starting 5th in Belgium. Maple Ace, he did finish 4th. He had a great race in the Netherlands. Started 14th, came home 4th. So not bad at all for the sprint race. Came home 3rd in the sprint. In the main race, however, I'm looking here, finished P8 after starting 3rd. But what I'm noticing here, as far as Maple Ace is concerned, is the fact that he's finishing these Grand Prix. Even if he's having, slightly underwhelming Grand Prix, he is still finishing the races. Whereas we had last time out, it was Reimer, the championship leader, who was doing really good towards the end of the Grand Prix and got into contact with a couple of different drivers, and unfortunately fell off the cusp of the win. Pretty much, he did not finish the Grand Prix after starting 6th. It was Patrick 78, who currently chasing in the championship standings. Again, down by 14 points heading into tonight. Actually, did take the win last week. Valentine, appreciate you joining here. Valentine, I hope you I hope you aren't going to be listening whilst driving, because what I do notice is this is going to be slightly delayed, is what I'm noticing here from the live that I'm watching now, from the actual being in the lobby to the live stream feed. It is about a 5, maybe 6 second delay. So I'm hoping you're not actually trying to watch this. Wouldn't that be amazing though if the real guys had Crofty screaming in their ear the whole time? That would be very interesting. That. Who else do we have here? Jake Snow Wolf has had a rather difficult spell here recently. It feels. Reimer, I think, bounced back very well in Italy. Netherlands, I don't quite remember. Let me see if his result from Zandvoort. Yeah, he finished P7 after starting 6th, slightly underwhelming for Reimer. And then, as we just mentioned, last week in Belgium wasn't the best for him. He did end up finishing 3rd in Italy after starting 15th after the sprint race. In fact, he started 16th in the sprint and only managed to climb up to 15th. So Reimer here, in fact, I don't believe he's actually won a round in quite a while now. He finished 14th in Hungary. His last win was Azerbaijan, where he won the race from 8th on the grid. Remember, we had the big weather dilemma going that. Valentine, where are you going to finish? Is this your first race with the JAG League here? I think it might be. I tell you what, you've got a good chance if you can keep it clean. Reimer being in this, and Reimer is what he's he is he at, what division is he in Midwest at this point? Because I think he has joined, hasn't he? I think as long as I don't know. It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell the quality, because in Midwest where we drive, it's very. On Sundays, yes, done a couple of Tier 3 races. So basically, it's interesting. In this lobby itself, this JAG Sunday, we have so many skill levels involved. Whereas Midwest, it's obviously broken up by skill. This division here has some of the most diverse talent I have seen on a grid. It's going to be very difficult to tell where anybody will finish. What I do know is this: if you finish clean, you've got yourself a good chance. No pressure at all, being that this is Japan, one of the most difficult circuits on schedule, if you ask me. But either way, good luck to you, and I hope you do well. Are you free Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. UK time? That is 3 o'clock. No, I am in work at that point, I'm afraid. That is 3 p.m. here in the States, so no, afraid not. Oh, goody. I dedicate my first OT to you, sir. Hope the connection stays. Well, I'm hoping the connection does stay well as well. From what I noticed, it might be okay. Again, and as I've mentioned a lot of times before, this is a very, not just skill diverse grid. This is a very um, this is a very internationally diverse grid as well. So what's really unfortunate is the fact that the connection is never going to be the same every single time. I've been actually quite good on connections for the most part, and then we got to Zanvor a couple of weeks ago, and I just could not stay in the lobby to save my life. And I'm hoping that that's not the case here as well. I've looked at, I've actually, even lowered the broadcast quality for today because I'm just so afraid that it's not going to work. And let me tell you something. I would have really loved to have the opportunity to see the other division races here. I work during the weeks, and this is, I mean, we're currently looking at 3:30 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United States. That would just never happen during the week like that, I'm afraid, which is such a shame. Not saying I hope I lose my job, but should I ever do, I would not mind at all being a part of this even more, because I tell you what, again, we've got a lot of talent here. 19 drivers have made up the lobby here. We should be going here any minute now. Hopefully that is the case. Once again, I am going to look to try to probably record this manually, as well as I'm going to look to record this manually as well, just in case we do have connection issues, especially with the live stream. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about with having to rejoin time and time again. That would be not ideal as well. But that's going to be. We'll have to cross that problem when we get to it, I'm afraid. Looks like we're almost ready to go here. Hopefully, now I can't tell because I'm not obviously watching this live as I'm recording it, but I'm hoping that the music isn't playing because I really don't want a copyright strike. Jake Snowwolf, yeah, I tell you what, he's got a good chance today. If he keeps it clean, he'll have a very good opportunity. That part's, I think, he's been on the cusp of a couple good results here. It just happens to be a lot of luck involved. As my father says, luck beats skill 9 times out of 10, and a lot of times that is the case. You're good, no music. Okay, very good, very good. Because you know what I actually noticed as well. Not only was it cutting in the test yesterday, not only was it cutting the music, the lobby music, it was also cutting the F1 theme that plays, once you load in. But we got 20 seconds to go here, so I'm going to start my manual recording now. Hopefully that was a pretty halfway decent pre-race show there. That felt pretty good to be able to do, to just talk and kind of be chill. But now the real fun begins, as we're about ready to go here. So once again, everybody, good evening. Welcome to the 9th round of the JAG Sunday Series. This week we head to the Suzuka International Racing Course here in Japan. One of the oldest circuits on schedule, one of the most world-renowned as well. I tell you what, time and time again we talk about this. The league organizers have put together a schedule here full of these, just absolutely... class circuits, has to be said. Not really, nothing too fancy. I don't believe we even had Singapore, really. I think the newest track we had on here was Jeddah, and that was about it. Everything else, old school circuits. You just love to see it, you really do. We're here today at Japan. A track initially opened by, whoever it was that, I forget the name off the top of my head, but the Honda guy actually started this. The original designs for this track, funny enough, had not just the one underpass which we're used to today, 3 underpasses over and under figure of 8 configurations that we have here. Hopefully, we're going to be looking at clear weather today. Hopefully, let's go ahead and find out. Hopefully, any minute. Sunset it is here in Japan. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. Sunset it is. Nice little afternoon qualifying session this. Hopefully, we get ourselves some good drives going here. Now, if you give me just a second, we will be able to go over our drivers and constructor standings. Let's see who's going to be out on track first here. Hotspot on the call for you. Once again here in JAG, tell you what I have loved, being on the call time in and time out this season. Quali and race will be sun, according to Dots Bannicklash. Thank you very much for pinging me that, because you do know this Suzuka circuit does, from time and time again, get some weather headed your way, so we'll be able to have ourselves a great race today. I feel like this track in particular does oftentimes get slightly more of a benefit from wet weather. Again, there's only the one DRS zone on track, so when you do get adverse conditions, it does throw that one extra element in the mix. It looks like our first driver out on track will be the Red Bull of Bergen, going to be the first out on track here. Look at the sunset we've got going here. As we go along with Red Bull driver, let's go ahead and look over our constructors and driver standings that we've got so far. I will once again say we do not have, whilst Reimer is leading by 14 points, while Mercedes have I think also as well, a 14-point lead over second place. Neither of the championships will be clinched today. I think the soonest, it's going to depend on today's result naturally, but I think Reimer won't be able to clinch until at the very earliest next week when we head to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Brazil. Let's see. Driver standings. We do have, after last week, Reimer leading the charge at 139. Patrick 78 has improved 2 positions. He's at 125. We've got Jag Chebin 30, who's had a very consistent second half of the season here, taking that third spot at 109. Maple Ace in fourth at 108. Very close. Bannicklash rounds out the top 5 at 93, although not far behind is both Lewis AP and Stims, 92 and 90, respectively. Marsbar in 8th at 84. Jake Snowwolf, 71, and Fear Luke round out the top 10 at 69 points. Nice. As far as the team constructors standings goes, Mercedes leads the way at 198 points, Ferrari 181, Alpine 180, Alfa Romeo 179, Williams at 176. In fact, they're tied with Aston Martin at 176 points apiece, Haas at 174, Red Bull 154, AlphaTauri 132, and McLaren 104. So I think pretty much everybody except maybe the McLarens have themselves an opportunity to perhaps even still win the championship if things really hit the fan here. But here comes Bergen. He's going to be starting his time lap here as he makes his way into the first corner. Very difficult section of corners to take this. Your line through those corners is going to be absolutely critical to setting up the S's section. It's a sector of the track that you will take differently every single time you go through it. It's such a fun complex to take, and as you exit that, you head up through Dunlop Curve. Now it's a blind corner. Anybody goes off ahead of you and the exit comes at you right quick on that right side. Very, very difficult. Through Degner 1 and Degner 2 now, a lot of time can be saved and lost through these two sections here. It's going to depend on very much, how you take it, the line you get through it. In towards the hairpin now. I would say, again, what we mentioned earlier before, very similar to both Zandvoort and now the Abu Dhabi circuit. You can oftentimes get 2 different lines through that corner. It makes for some great racing. Through 200R now, back down the stretch here. As you head in towards the spoon curve. I don't really know why it's called a spoon curve, but it does slightly look like one, I suppose. Got to be careful of the raised curves in the middle of the track there. They will catch you up by surprise. They will spin you around. Down the backstretch now, heading for 130R. Very fast left-handed corner. In the older games, it was, a break and a downshift. That's not the case anymore. You can almost take it flat out. Going through that, in towards the KCO Triangle, now the final chicane here, which it looks as if Bergen's going to take quite well. Does he hold acceleration on exit? Yes, he does. Through the final corner, there's a bump somewhere along the back end of the corner that does tend to catch people by surprise. and it's a 132.450 for the Red Bull at the moment. Behind him, I believe that was the Mercedes. It might be Banniclash who started one. No, but it's the Aston Martin of Rise. It's a 128.329. That is a massive gap already between first and second. And now, speaking of Aston Martins, the teammate of Maple Ace has come home second. It's a clean second behind his teammate of Rise there, but Jag Cheb, meanwhile, has now put himself within 0.4 of a second of the pair of Aston Martins. And then the Haas of Stims, 128.249, beats Rise by 0.8 of a second. Now, I'm not rightly sure where you can make up that 0.8 at, but I tell you what, that is a very close gap between those two cars, definitely. Next up around the line, we do have Reimer, 127.711. 5.5 clear of the Haas. I tell you what, he's the championship leader for a reason. He has been, and if he puts in many more laps like that, he will be off to another great race here today. Hopefully for him, it fares better than him last time out at Spa, where unfortunately he did not finish the Grand Prix. Really had to fight his way back towards the end of that Grand Prix, and unfortunately made contact with a couple of cars, and his race rather went spinning away from him. We do have now, that was the McLaren of Lewis AP37, who's gone P4 at about 6.5 behind. The AlphaTauri of, who is that coming through now? I want to say, is that Nevek coming into the first corner? Yes, it is. Yet to put down a timed attempt. We'll stay along with him. But let's look at Banniclash now, who Banniclash is on his way into the pits. Slightly odd that he's chosen to come in now. I think he did that last week at Spa as well. He went out for his first attempt and then immediately came back in the pits. It's slightly odd, has to be said. I think we only have just the AlphaTauri of Nevek out on track on a timed lap. That and Jake Snowwolf, the only two drivers that have yet to put together, relatively competitive timed attempts, although Jake Snowwolf is just on P11, now moves within 2 seconds of the leader, who was about 14 outside of it not long ago. Peak Hours put down a lap, although he will have plenty of time to improve here. Here's Nevek going through 200R in towards the Spoon corner. Let's see how he takes it. He goes quite wide there at the apex, a lot of the exit curve, and then once again exiting the corner as well. Very tricky, and you got to be careful. That gravel gets very close on the outside. He's going to find the toe behind, which I believe that was the Alpine, maybe of, well, it was is who it was. Goes through 200R, or 130R rather, into the KCO Triangle, the final chicane. Let's see, does he get acceleration on the exit? A little bit of wheel spin, not bad at all. He'll hold it down to the inside, and Nevek will go P10, 129.279. Will be behind our leader of Reimer, provisional pole sitter, by a second and a half so far. I believe we do have, we've got Patterson on an outlap here in the Alfa Romeo. We do have Yorkie on an outlap in the Williams. In fact, both Williams drivers on outlaps at the moment. We got Marsbar also, and Fear Luke in the Red Bull, who is on a timed lap now. See, this is what I'm talking about here. We just had, who was that? That was the Ferrari of Peak Hour, who had gone wide, going through Dunlop Curve into the gravel. Now, I tell you what, if he was able to spin across the circuit, Fear Luke was not going to be able to see him if he came across. That would have been absolutely terrible for Fear Luke, but for the time being, he stays clean as he makes his way through the hairpin and in towards 200R now. He's got the, I believe that's the Williams of Marsbar ahead of him. That maybe he's going to get the toe from. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Oh, but I tell you what, that Williams did not. That was Yorkie, is who it was, didn't really get out of the way that quickly. You got a driver on a timed lap behind you like that. That was very, very close, and I'm sure that has not helped Fear Luke's time whatsoever. 10 minutes to go in the session now. He's gone purple sector 2 at the moment, but how much has that Williams hurt his timed attempt? It does seem like it's going to be quite a bit. So hopefully for him, he'll be able to improve here as he makes his way through the final corner. To the line he goes. It's going to be P6 for Fear Luke, 128.6. As my mother walks down the stairs, trying to be quiet, but it's not quite working. That was funny. Yeah, that's fair, that's fair. Well, who do we have coming around the line now? It looks as if next up, I believe that's going to be the Alpine of Cheb? Yep, Cheb's going to be coming through on a timed lap here just in a moment, so let's go ahead with Jag Cheb, currently battling within that top 5 of the driver standings. Again, he's had a very good second half of this season. If he's able to hold it, consistent once again here, he'll have himself a very good look for that third spot that he has been chasing and trying to, really get to pretty much the whole time. Oh, but he's gone to the grass there, slightly exiting the corner. That is going to hurt his time just a little bit as he goes up through Dunlop now. Let's see, oh, the back end's gone round. Yep, there it is. He slides. He doesn't hit anything. But you can tell he was just a little bit too generous on the throttle application there, going up through Dunlop curve, and that car has gotten away from him. And unfortunately, as we get into the second half of the session now, he's not going to have a lot of time to get back out on track. He's got 8.5 minutes still, but considering that you got the traffic you got to watch out for as well, it's not going to help you all that much. Jag Cheb, who looked initially like he was on an okay lap then, unfortunately that one's going to go away from him. Algieri's just gone into the gravel now. Algieri, is he on a timed lap? I believe to this point he was, but he has gone into the gravel, exiting Dunlop curve. Dunlop curve. That's what it's called. Sometimes that is my problem, isn't it? Sometimes I do try to get information out much quicker than I can actually process it in my own head. But, that's quite all right. We do have the Mercedes of Baniklash, who I tell you what, Baniklash has had a couple of good races here recently. He's gone purple sector 2 at the moment. Into the final chicane he goes. Is he able to put down a relatively competitive lap here? He's currently without a time as he rounds the final corner down to the inside. It's going to be P2 for Baniklash, 127.998 behind Reimer by 0.3 of a second at the moment. That's the closest anyone's gotten to Reimer to this point. Mind you, the top 9 cars separated by that 1 second margin. As I believe that was just the Haas of Stims. Maybe has he gone second? What it kind of looks like. Oh, no, it was the Williams of Marsbar. Marsbar has gone P4 at the moment. He's gone within about 5.5 of Reimer at the moment. Reimer, speak of the devil, is out on an outlap at the moment here as we start to head towards the back end of the qualifying session. 7 minutes to go here. Majority of drivers out on track. Still, what is that, 5, maybe 6 drivers? 5 drivers still in the pit lane, that being Lewis, Fearluke, Algieri, Cheb, and Bergen. Still Patterson and Yorkie yet to put together a timed attempt here. Reimer is starting one. Let's go along with the Ferrari as he makes his way in towards the first corner. From 190 miles an hour down to 100 by the time they get to the second corner, up through the S's now. And again, just look at how on rails this Ferrari looks at the moment. Takes a lot of the inside curb there. That used to spin you out quite frequently in the older F1 games. 2020, 2021, that used to be a death trap, those curbs. Degner 1 and Degner 2, 0.2 of a second faster through the first sector at the moment. Exiting Degner 2 under the bridge, and in towards the hairpin he goes, looking like a very solid attempt at the moment, but the hairpin here, if he holds it well, could very much make or break his time. It looks like he's done quite well, but we do have Jake Snow Wolf now. He is trashed. That is coming out of Degner 2 about to go under the bridge. Yeah, I don't want to say it's a common one, but definitely get wheel spin coming out of that, and that car will go around. And I'm assuming that is what's happened with Jake Snow Wolf there. He resides 1.9 off the pole time at the moment. That one is not going to help him. Currently resides P16 with 3 drivers to boot. Still have to put in a timed attempt here. Into the final chicane goes Reimer again, looking like he's on a very solid attempt here as he makes his way out of the final chicane and into the pits. So somewhere along that attempt, Reimer did not think that it was a good enough lap. Jeez, I wonder where he's made that mistake. Mid has just finished his timed attempt here. As you can see, his recharge is on. He's currently residing P4. Actually, that's a second row lockout for the Haas team at the moment. With about 5 minutes to go here, that's a pretty solid place to be. Let's see if Patterson's on a lap here. And he has, but he's invalidated, unfortunately, as he makes his way into the chicane. And I have a feeling he's going to be making his way into pit lane here very shortly. Yes, he will. So now what we do have is only 2 drivers, I wouldn't even say on competitive laps at the moment here. Here's Rise, who might be on a cooldown lap here is what I'm going to guess. Mid we know is not on a time lap. I'm assuming Rise is just on a cooldown lap here at the moment. You can see the recharge light on the back of the car flashing. as the cars now, I believe here shortly, will be making their way back out on track. Peak Hour has just exited the pit lane. We do have the Williams of Yorkie has just come back out on track as well. Thank you for joining here. We've got about 5 minutes or less remaining in the session. Really appreciate it. 4 minutes to go now. Definitely subscribe if you like what you're seeing. I do all sorts of leagues. I even do a bit of racing myself. Gran Turismo 7, Dirt Rally. I do a lot of that stuff, and you can go check me out at the Midwest F1 League. That's my main home. Where I have actually just this past week at the Monaco Grand Prix reached my 100th Midwest F1 cast. And boy, what a race that was in Monaco under the lights. We got the Midnight Monaco going there. There's apparently a midnight session in the game to do in Monaco, and it does look brilliant. But here comes Rise, who I believe is going to be starting a time lap now. The Aston Martin coming out of the final corner with 3.5 minutes to go. Let's see what he's got. Battery being used now. Timed lap engaged. He's going to hit 203 miles an hour by the time he gets down to the apex of the first corner. Probably the fastest top speed we've seen so far. Into the S's he goes. Doesn't take much of the curb. Again, we saw Reimer take a lot of the curb, especially through this corner here. Rise won't even touch it. Again, you're going to take those S's differently every single time you go through them. Out of Dunlop curve he goes, all looks good. Through in towards Degner 1 now. He is actually slower by almost a tenth and a half, which is a little bit surprising to me considering he looks like he's on a great lap at the moment. 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining here in towards the hairpin corner goes the Aston Martin. It doesn't look as if he's given up on the timed attempt yet. Going through 200R now in towards the Spoon curve. We'll get the Sector 2 timing split once he goes heading into 130R, and there he goes. He's gone wide, going through the middle of the Spoon there, and I'm afraid that might spell the end, not only of his timed attempt, but perhaps even his qualifying session here. Only 2 minutes and 15 to go. He's just simply not going to have the time, realistically, to put in another attempt. Who is going to be coming through behind Rise here momentarily will be the McLaren of Valentine. Valentine, a driver I'm very familiar with. I've raced alongside him in F2 as teammates. Back when we had our F2 division, and here he goes into the chicane now. Currently resides 1.8 behind, although, let's see what he's got here. Exits the corner. We got 1 minute and 50 now. He'll be the first driver to complete his final round of attempts here. Down the pit straight he goes, in towards the first corner. 207. Now that cleared Rise by about 4 miles an hour. That's a massive top speed for Valentine. But that may actually end up hurting him, considering that looks to be as if he set up his car more for the straight line. By the way, Suzuka doesn't have many straight lines to it, has to be said. But making his way through Dunlop curve now, up the hill. Oh, and there he goes, he's gone off. Yeah, just that slight wiggle, trying to round the corner atop the hill. And I'm afraid that is going to spell the end of his session there, although it may end up helping him. If he could stay out of trouble in towards that first corner, it may not hurt him all that much. We'll have to wait and see. Reimer on an outlap here. Bannicklash, Stims, Mid, Marsbar. The top 5 all on outlaps, although with only 1 minute to go here, they may want to get around to the line a little bit quicker than what they are. At the moment, it does look as if they're taking it slightly lackadaisical. Coming through here shortly will be I believe the Alpine of Cheb. He's actually on a timed lap now as he makes his way in through Degner 1 and 2. He is quicker so far by 7/100ths of a second as he exits the second Degner. Under the bridge he goes in towards the hairpin corner. Takes a slightly shallow line through the corner. Sometimes you see the drivers go a bit wider in the qualifying session. Oh, Peak Hour's been disqualified. Where's that at? That is coming out from under the bridge. Or sorry, about to go under the bridge, rather. Coming out of the second Degner. Yeah, I think he spun the car and maybe got beached along the track. That sort of thing does happen. Cheb coming to the Sector 2 line now. At the moment, 3, almost 4/10ths of a second quicker. This will put him roughly in towards the top 5 here. Heading into the final chicane now, as we still have Reimer, Bannicklash, and the pair of Haas drivers still yet to come. Marsbar has retired. That coming out of the first corner. Cheb has gone P80, improves by 3.5/10ths, but the Williams of Marsbar, I think, binned it going through the first corner. So his time is done here. We do have Mid as he makes his way through in towards the Spoon corner now. His teammate of Stims ahead of him. Look at this. The 2 Haas drivers giving a bit of a tow here. very, very good to be able to see. We're going to have Baniklash coming through here. He's going to be the next driver to finish a timed attempt. He's 3.5 tenths quicker through that second sector as he makes his way into the chicane for the final time this session. Is he able to improve? He'll have Reimer behind him. Still yet to come. Across the line is Baniklash, 127.518. Currently the fastest on track. Reimer making his way into 130R now. The pair of Haas drivers round the final corner. Stims goes P4. His teammate of mid leapfrogs Reimer's within 8/100ths of Baniklash. As here comes Reimer through the final corner. Now, oh, and the car's gotten away from him out of the final corner. And he will cross the line 7/1000ths of a second slower. And it was just the wiggle coming out of the final corner that caused that lap to go away. He was 0.3 of a second up at the Sector 2 split, and that is so wildly unfortunate for Reimer. I think he probably well could have had pole there. In fairness to him, he will still be third spot, and he split the pair of Haas drivers. So, be that as it may, Reimer has had a really good qualifying attempt here, and his main championship contender is, well, at the moment, I tell you what, is nowhere to be found, really. Is he even in the session? Am I stupid, or can I not see Patrick 78? I don't think I can. Again, I don't think Reimer is going to be able to lock up the championship tonight, but that is definitely going to help him if he can put together a good result here. But it will be the Mercedes of Baniklash on pole here. Pretty interesting qualifying session there towards the end. And Baniklash taking pole there. A driver who's, kind of migrated his way towards the top pretty much every round this season, at least in the qualifying session. So it will be Baniklash on pole by 8/100ths of a second over mid. The Haas in second. Reimer does split the pair of Haas drivers by, look at that, 1/1000th of a second over Stims in fourth, Lewis fifth, Algieri sixth. It's Marsbar seventh, Rise eighth, Cheb ninth, Patterson 10th, 11th is Luke, 12th is Maple Ace, 13th is Bergen, 14th is what is that, Wee? Yeah, 14th is Wee, 15th is Nevek, 16th Valentine, 17th Jake Snow Wolf. Yorkie is 18th, and unfortunately for peak hour, the game disqualified him after spinning out of the second Degner before going under the bridge. So, the top, 10 cars separated by less than a second and a half here. And a track where very tight margins are had. It's going to be one hell of a Grand Prix to watch. Once again, just stopping and starting my recording here. I think I'm probably going to end up standing for the race start here. It's been quite easy to sit here kind of relaxed in the chair. But we are going to have ourselves one heck of a race start to try to keep an eye on here. Baniklash being on pole. As a reminder, neither of the current championships can be won today. Coming up in the next couple of weeks here, we do have 2 rounds left. After this, we do have Brazil, Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and finally the Yas Marina circuits on January the 28th for what should be a very fun final round. And I tell you what, the Yas Marina circuit, I think prior to this layout change that they've had, very much raised questions as to why it is the final race of the season. But I tell you what, it has made for some exciting racing. This layout change that they've brought does kind of bring the cars closer together. Remember how it used to be? It used to be a section of kind of off-camber chicanes, where the banked corner is now. And that banked corner does occasionally provide some good spots. Slight bit of camber into that hairpin there in Sector 2. We kind of went over the science behind the cambered corners before, but I'll do it again quite quickly here just in case you weren't with us for that discussion. Basically, in the stock car world, if you can find the high line around the corner, you can carry more speed on the way out. And I tell you what, into the race here, we will see drivers use that line more. So it'll be interesting to see. As far as the tire compounds are concerned, it looks as if, for once, it's going to be a pretty fair split between the softs and mediums. And I tell you what, I bet these drivers on the softs here definitely looking for that early safety car to come out and absolutely throw a wrench into the plans of the drivers taking the longer game, especially that Haas of Stims, who is the only driver on track to actually go ahead and choose those hard tires. He's going to be in it for the long haul here. Only sometimes does that work. Everybody else around him, being on the mediums and the softs, the usual suspect for tires. In fact, I'm a little surprised we're seeing this many softs. What is that, 6 drivers on the soft tires? That's quite a lot, actually. Lap 11 to 13 is the strategy as far as that concerned. So those soft tires, according to the game, will last 11 laps. Which, and again, we talked about this a little bit before, I think, last time in Spa, where basically we have these drivers now that, will have the soft tires for the race, but the drivers, being that they only use them for the qualifying session, won't know enough about how they react to the surface and the degradation around them, to where it's just too much of a risk to use them. Apparently, if we got, a good chunk of the grid here choosing the soft tires, they might actually be raceable. Maybe they've noticed that in the qualifying session, and that's why they've made that choice. Not often does it happen like that, but we'll have to wait and see here, as Bannick will lead the grid down the backstretch now, heading towards 130R here on the formation lap. Bannick is going to have a couple of quick drivers in his immediate surroundings, one of those being the championship leader of Reimer. A driver who, realistically, I'm not going to say needs a good result here, but he needs one to really cement his championship hopes here. Patrick 78 being nowhere in sight is definitely going to help him. Although, realistically, you never know. Reimer last week, I think, really could have had a good result, and unfortunately it did not end that way. But as the grid round the final corner and about to line up on the grid here, as the formation lap comes to a close, it is Bannick in the Mercedes on pole. Mid has not found his grid box correctly and will now be at least a couple of meters disadvantage off the line here. Reimer's going to have that outside line in towards the first corner, and he's going to have it very well as the grid lines up here. Bannick on pole. It was less than a tenth between himself and Mid in the qualifying session. How much are they separated by in the race here? As the lights any second now will begin to turn on. There they go, 3, 4, and eventually 5. And they are off here in Japan. Now, Bannick, I think, does get away well. Mid gets a lot of oversteer down to the inside. Does Bannick clear the 2 Haas's ahead of him? Yes, or behind him? Yes, he does. Mid is trying to battle Reimer down to the inside. He will get around the Ferrari for the time being, despite what looked to be not the best start. He has cleared the championship leader as the cars behind him, including Lewis, now trying to battle Algieri behind as they make their way through the S's. Behind them, it looks as if Stims and Marsbar are very close together here, but for the time being, it looks as if all the drivers have done their best and have made their way cleanly through the first sector. Oh, but Reimer, and that's a big accident now! We've got Reimer, the championship leader, off the track and out of the race! And Lewis AP as well. That was a massive off. And now, what we can confirm is this: with Patrick 78 not being on the grid tonight, it will be a 14-point gap as well, heading into the penultimate round of the season next week in Sao Paulo. What an unbelievable turn of events this. It is just a virtual safety car for the time being. Bannick has gotten away from Mid rather well, it has to be said. What in the heck is happening here? Well, Mid looked as if he had... Well, there's the front wing missing. Something has happened with that car. I don't know. But the Haas, slightly jumpy, it almost looks, as they make their way now into the chicane here. Virtual safety car still on track. There goes Mid into the pit lane. Did he even perhaps make contact? Is that the front wing? Is that what happened with Reimer, perhaps? Or was that under the virtual safety car? We did not get a good look at the situation, but as we go back to green flag here, it is the pair of Mercedes drivers atop the grid here, 1 and 2, with Marsbar in third. Mid is glitching very bad. That has to be said. I'm even looking at that on my screen. That does look to be the case, has to be said. As they make their way up through Dunlop Curve now, the grid snakes their way through. Jag Cheb looks like he's within 0.4 of a second here of Stims as they make their way up through in towards Degner 1 and 2 now. Oh, but Stims has gotten a rather poor line. He's gone into the gravel on the outside. That's going to hurt him. Does Cheb have a line in towards the hairpin? That's going to be the question. Here on the second lap of the Grand Prix, it's Patterson in behind. Does Patterson on these soft tires perhaps have some sort of chance around Cheb and Stims here? If some sort of mistake happens ahead, he will. There goes Cheb looking for the inside. He's not going to make it now, but a very, at least, convincing look there from Cheb that Stims is going to be in trouble here rather shortly. Stims is a nearly 2.5 second disadvantage to the Aston Martin ahead of him in the 4th spot. Oh, it's going to be tough to tell. DRS is not going to be activated until next time by. In fact, it will be the tail end of next lap. But here goes Patterson. He's going to be looking for it here. He's not necessarily close enough. But behind them, we're looking at a good battle as well between Nevek and the AlphaTauri and the pair of Red Bulls, both Fearluke and Bergen, within the top 10 here. We got a little bit of battling behind as Yorkie, side by side with Jake Snow Wolf, exiting the final corner. And there goes Stims, who has looks, I think he's taken, yes, Jag Cheb has taken Stims going through the first corner and promotes himself to the 5th spot. There's a look at the gains and losses here. It looks as if everybody, barring Mid and Stims, the two Haas drivers, have actually gained positions on this opening sequence here. Bandiclash staying the same, naturally started on pole. We got Nevek up 7 spots in the opening goings here in the AlphaTauri, and I tell you what, he's got the Red Bulls in behind him. It will be very difficult for him, as it looks like those two Red Bulls have some pace behind, and he is slightly falling behind the Alfa Romeo of Patterson, who Patterson at the moment here trying to get within the slipstream of the Haas ahead, only down by 1/4 of a second at the moment as they make their way through 200R in towards the Spoon Curve now. Patterson looks like he's got a good enough handle on the car. We'll have to wait and see. Now, still early days in the race here. How desperate is he going to get? Meanwhile, atop the grid here, we do have Marsbar trying to find a way around Algieri. Here he goes. Is he going to look for the left side? No, he's going to have to tuck back in line here, as Algieri rather defended that line quite well. But a little bit of oversteer coming off the corner. Algieri goes wide, and here goes Marsbar. He's going to have DRS as well. And now, the Mercedes is relatively a sitting duck here down to the inside, and Marsbar will take the 2nd spot. And it has to be said rather easily there, and it was all set up by the mistake, entering the final corner by Algieri and the Mercedes. We do have Fearluke, who it looks as if has just gotten down the inside of Nevek going in through the first corner. Oh, Nevek! Okay, well, apparently he held it. I don't know. That looked like he was going around, at least on my screen. We do have Wee on his way into the pits in the Alpine. Oh, but look at this, Nevek. I think he's just gotten into Fearluke then. That was definitely contact to the rear wing then of the Red Bull ahead. For the time being, Bandiclash has a 2-second lead over Marsbar, but Marsbar is closing in rather quickly. He's making up about 1/10 every couple of seconds here, as it looks as if Patterson has got around Cheb coming out of the second Degner, and well before they make their way into the hairpin. That looked to be a great maneuver there for the Alfa Romeo. Slightly out of nowhere as well. Very well done for him. Let's see what we do have here. Cheb still 0.6 of a second behind. He's not going to lose DRS unless he makes a hash of this final chicane here, or 130R, whichever happens. Algieri has 0.8 of a second back to Marsbar, but that is not nearly close enough to make something happen, even with DRS. That is not a long front straight, and even then, the DRS is not as powerful as it used to be. You know, I can remember back in F1 21, if you were anywhere within, you know, half a second of a car, you really had a fair shot at overtaking them with DRS. It's not like that anymore. You have to be right up alongside them for DRS to have pretty much any effect at all. Maple Lace has gotten around Nevek there for the 9th spot. Algieri is now within half a second of the leading Williams as they make their way in towards Dunlop Curve, with Bandiclash in the distance now by 2.5 seconds, and I think Algieri doing his best to pressure the Williams here, trying to give his teammate a little bit of breathing room, has to be said here. 5 laps in the books already here. our championship leader of Reimer. Ugh, unfortunately, we didn't even get that good of a look at what happened, but that is an absolutely horrid turn of events for the Ferrari driver, who spent the first half of the season so dominant. Again, has found himself in rather a difficult position these last 2 Grand Prix. In fact, that will be 2 DNFs in a row for the Ferrari driver, as last week in Belgium and this week in Japan. Very unfortunate for him, but what we do have now is Patterson within 0.4 of a second here of Rise, making their way down the backstretch here as they make their way towards 130R. Through the corner they go. Tell you what, looks like Patterson got away well through the corner. It looks as if he was able to at least carry more speed than the Aston Martin ahead, as we begin the 6th lap of the Grand Prix here. And it looks as if Algeri has gotten around Marsbar there on their way in towards the final corner, as Patterson does get around Rise as well. I tell you what, apparently the DRS works quite good, as Algeri puts himself back into that 2nd spot, and we once again have a Mercedes 1 and 2. Patterson up 6 positions since the off here, as we do have, oh, what's that? That's a car, I think, off towards the back. Yes, it's, well, it's Wee was spun it coming out of the spoon corner there, and that's heading in towards 130R. He's well out of the way, but still unfortunate for him, and I believe he's had to pit rather recently as well. Fear Luke now within 1/10.5 on Stims here as they make their way in towards the hairpin. This is going to be a very close spot to make something happen. Wee has just picked up 15 seconds of penalty within a couple of corners there. We'll go along with that in a minute. It's Marsbar now, down to the inside, and he nearly had a go at Algeri. In fact, he's hit the left rear tire on the Mercedes, and I'm surprised neither of them have gone spinning. In fact, I'm also a little bit surprised Marsbar hasn't picked up any wing damage along that right side, because it was at least noticeable contact between the two. But as they head in towards the rest of the lap here, in towards the Casio Triangle chicane, let's see, it's going to depend on who gets the better exit here. That's who's going to have the advantage heading into the first corner. Looks as if Algeri has gotten away slightly better. 0.4 of a second as they enter the DRS section. Here comes Marsbar down to the inside, and he's going to have that one rather easily. Well, I hate saying that, because that's just not exactly true. Rise has gotten around Patterson there, again, without the aid of the braking zone. It looks easier because, again, it's not a heavy braking zone necessarily into the first corner. You go from about, 8th gear top speed only down to about 4th gear, whereas most of these tracks, it is a braking zone truly into the corner. It's not like that here. So any move that, is made going into the corner doesn't look as difficult as it probably was. Again, it's a very narrow section of corners, so any move to be made is definitely quite difficult in my book. But hey, I don't race, so that's probably why. But here's Algeri now, half a second on Marsbar here, making their way in towards the hairpin corner. It's half a second, and for the time being, the Williams does look to get away better. It looks like that Williams does slightly have an advantage on initial acceleration from the naked eye. Well, it looks like Valentine may have had a moment there towards the back. I'm not quite sure. But for the time being here, Patterson once again within 0.4 of a second of Rise. We have, once again, this time it's at the hairpin. And it's, I believe it's something to do with a Red Bull in the back. Yeah, Bergen's going away quite slow. Yeah, perhaps has the Red Bull gone around there, maybe with help from behind, I'm not sure. While we missed that, Algeri has made the move heading through 130R. Of course, it's always the best moves that I miss when we're looking at cars that go off. Something about the yellow flags coming out on track really do make these drivers really go for it. 0.3 of a second here, and closing. Marsbar's going to have to look for the inside. Side by side through the corner, and it... Oh, boy. Oh, don't tell me that I left. Is that Cheb who's left, or is that... Alright, looks like it's just a Cheb problem at the moment, hopefully. I'm hoping that's the case. Yeah, it looks like if he's the only one that's left, I think it might be just Jag Cheb who may have lagged out there, which is quite unfortunate, because Cheb currently residing P6. That robot is going to be actually very much under the mercy of Fear Luke behind. For the time being, Algeri is trying his best. He's actually up against his teammate here. What? Well, you saw that too. That car is properly ghosted. The pair of Mercedes there. That is Very, very odd. Anyways, 0.3 of a second here separate Patterson from Rise as they make their way into the spoon corners now. About to begin the 9th lap of 27. Once they make their way down towards the pit straight, Algieri has the lead. I don't know how. He completely phased through the other car. I'm sure you saw that on board as well. But here's Patterson now, within 0.2 of a second, and you can see he's just had to lift off there just so that he, make sure he wasn't going to get into the back of the Aston Martin there. That was going to be very detrimental if he didn't. Exits the chicane, down in towards the pit straight now. DRS is going to be activated here for the Alfa Romeo. Which line is he going to choose here? Well, I tell you what, he's just going to tuck it in behind. 0.2 of a second apparently wasn't close enough for Patterson to make that move happen. Really quick, Wee is asking if I can try to invite Jag Cheb. We'll go ahead and see if I can do my best with that. Alright, so I think I've hit him with a couple of invites here. Hopefully that'll be good. Thank you to Wee for pinging me there. I would have never have seen that otherwise. We have Patterson here, 0.3 of a second behind Rise as they make their way out of the hairpin. Going through 200R now. For the time being, everything looks stable in this. We're going to go behind to Maple Ace, who, despite being up 2 spots, still has a lot of work to do here. He's within 0.3 of a second on Nivek as they make their way towards the spoon curve here. Very close behind the AlphaTauri. I tell you what, it's looking to be a good battle shaping up here. Exiting the corner they go. Even Stevens coming off the corner. Please tell me you're not going to make it side by side through 130R. Well, I tell you what, Maple Ace won to the outside. The track naturally ran out of room there. The tarmac kind of tapered off to that right side. And I think that's why he didn't stick along with it. Otherwise, had it stayed like that, he would have absolutely had a line around it back. That's not going to be the case. Cheb does make his way down to the inside of Patterson. So that'll promote Cheb to the 5th spot. And it looks like Cheb now, what the heck is this? Well, something has happened with Rise. I think Rise perhaps had a moment there. The car is ghosted, and Cheb will take the 4th spot away from the Aston Martin. Slightly odd again. It's always the ghosting that throws me off with these cars. I don't cast many leagues with ghosting on. It does slightly confuse me, truthfully, when you see it happen. But I'm going to assume that was the case there with Rise. Is now Patterson looking to make a move on the Aston Martin here as they go under the bridge and heading towards the hairpin here. It's a 1/4 of a second and slightly closing. There goes Cheb. Now Cheb has made his way around Marsbar there. I think Marsbar may have had a moment coming out of the corner. It looks as if he's now suddenly well behind the Alpine. I'm thinking he just maybe had some oversteer and temporarily lost the car, and now Marsbar has lost the position. Back on here with Patterson. And the Mercedes swapping positions? Yes, it looks as if Bannock-Glass wait, what? Okay, well anyways, Algieri on his way in the Mercedes. What does he choose to do here? Probably going to be the hard tires would be my guess. And no, it's going to be the mediums. Are those mediums? I can't even tell. The colors is weird. My feed is different than yours, Hotspot. Yeah, I would have to believe that. Cheb is 11th on his screen. Okay, so that would make sense why we're seeing a couple. Okay, there it is. He's down to 10th now. Now finally 11th. Okay, that was slightly odd there, and I think it has to do with joining and rejoining. Maybe that has been the case as to why. But now we can see what is this? This is peak hour in Yorkie. Apparently a lap down here. Now, that doesn't seem quite right. These two cars are ghosted. I have no idea what's taking place here. This game never ceases to amaze me with how many problems it has, and now finally it looks as if is the score. Sorry, not the score, but is the leaderboard finally starting to make its way towards being correct? Still no. Bannock, what is happening here? I'm still in the lobby. My connection isn't bad. I think these are just genuine game glitches that are taking place here. because I do not believe the Haas of mid is truly ahead of the grid. At the moment, he's well behind everybody. Yeah, there he is. It's reset itself again. I don't believe Banaclash is still P1 either. He's got Cheb ahead of him. Sorry, I don't know what's happening here, guys. I'm truthfully sorry, but the leaderboards in this game are not helping me quite at the moment. What I do know is this. We do have what appears to be the two AlphaTauris relatively close to each other on track here, with Nivek apparently leading it, apparently leading his teammate of Jake Snow Wolf here by less than a second and a half. And it looks, oh, what's this? That is the Aston Martin of Rise, who is on track but says he's in the pit. Yeah, I have no idea what's happening anymore. This is just great. I wonder if it's just me getting all of this, or is this everybody else? Dots P1, Mars P2, Stims P3. See, but that's what it says now. But so what? Is just Cheb that far behind? Is Cheb about to be a lap down here? I don't get it. I don't get it. Banaclash apparently is leading the Grand Prix here, ahead of the Williams of Marsbar in second place, and apparently Stims as well. And this is wildly odd going on here. I will do my best to display the action as it comes apparent, but what we do know is this. It looks as if Maple Ace, 0.3 of a second behind Fear Luke here as they make their way out of the hairpin now. For what position this is, I have no idea. But what I do know is this. These two cars are battling on track, hopefully, and there they go. They're ghosted again. I have no clue. I don't know. This is getting very odd very quickly. Okay, now Maple Ace is... Yeah, surely something's happened here. Reimer, assuming your... Yeah, lobby's desynced, according to Wii. It has to be. Apparently, it's not just happening to me, which is good news. I was really hoping that it wasn't, because what we are looking at here is several drivers reporting this now. We reporting it. The lobby's been desynced here. Daryl reporting it that it's looking the same way. Valentine apparently looking at it as well the same way. Yep, I don't know what's going on here, but what I do know is I'm going to do my best. Here's Banaclash. A 10th and a half here behind Stims. I hope for real. I don't know. Doing his best, making their way through the second Degner now. On their way into the hairpin, it does look as if, as Marsbar picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding the pit lane, and now Banaclash is... I don't even know. I do have to apologize for what appears to be another game-killing... Sorry, I'm gonna ping Reimer really quick, or Reimer, you can text back in the chat here if you are still able. If you're still in the lobby, can I perhaps quit and rejoin? We are only about halfway through the race here, and what appears to be some great racing. I'm just not entirely sure what's happening. If you are still here, and you are still in the lobby, perhaps can you send me some invites very quickly so I can leave and eventually join back, hopefully. Because at the moment, as much as it looks as if, well, here's Banaclash apparently trying the left side. I think, well, you see, this started... Now, this started around the time... And Wee is talking to Cheb and saying it's a mess, so if that is the lobby host saying that this is a mess, this might be slightly a mess. Reimer calling for a restart here. Now, naturally, Reimer having crashed out in the opening stages, that would have been something. but it does look as if that we are getting a lot of problems. The lobby host saying that we've got problems here probably doesn't help our case. What I'm hoping is that at least our top 2 battle going on here is correct, with Stims very closely leading Banacklash here through the Spoon Curve. As they exit the corner now, very even coming off the corner. It's going to depend, does Banacklash hold in that slipstream? Is he going to try to make a move here? No, I don't believe he will. He's just simply not going to have the room going through 130R. But now does he try into the chicane? No, not there either. Following the Haas in behind here, if perhaps he has DRS, will he be able to get around the top spot now? We'll have to wait and see. Here he goes. Banacklash trying the inside, side by side into the first corner. And he does. Very nicely done there from Banacklash, but it doesn't look as if Stims is ready to quit just yet. He's only behind about 0.3 of a second, although slightly getting that gap getting bigger, slightly more second by second here. Now up to a 5, almost 0.6 of a second gap here, and that was right quick. Losing pace here is the Haas of Stims. As Patterson's picked up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Once again, everything is just... Yeah, you see, this isn't right. What? He's got his pit limiter on. On track. Yeah, that's not right. This game never ceases to amaze me, man. It really does. Is he going to retire? I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's not accurate at all. Well, yeah, this is really just... I'm just hoping that it's an issue on my end, because obviously if... Problem is, if Cheb's saying that we've got problems, then that's just not good. Well, what we do have there is that Maple Ace trying to go down the inside of Jake Snow Wolf. Weird race. Hopefully it doesn't affect the drivers. Well, yeah, it might be slightly late for that. It has to be said. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure is the bottom line here. And we are already, from the looks of it, past halfway in the Grand Prix. I don't know... I'll get Sheb to invite you again. Thank you, Wee. I'll do my best. So, temporarily here, I will leave this session and attempt to join back when I can. Hopefully we're not missing too much here. Obviously, from the amount of just madness we're seeing here, I don't think it's going to matter too much. But let's see if perhaps we can rejoin this invite from Cheb. Hopefully the broadcast is still going here. Appreciate y'all sticking around and watching. I'm just have, quite frankly, no idea. So apparently Algieri has been promoted as the lobby host after Cheb had disconnected earlier on. So, hopefully is it working now? Banacklash atop the grid here. He's got Fear Luke behind. Now, I don't know. Again, you'll have to let me know if this isn't accurate. What I do know is that the 4 drivers who have not finished this race are correct as far as that. I think we might be back in action here, although I'm just not sure how this is working. Has Stims genuinely gotten around Jag Cheb there? Yes, I think he has. Both Stims and Maple Ace have gotten around. the Alpine of Cheb. I want to thank Cheb there for getting me re-invited into this lobby here, because quite frankly, that was a total mess. And I'm very glad to be back, because we have been watching some great racing so far, and I hope it stays that way. The Red Bull of Fear Luke has made his way into the pit lane, as well as Jag Cheb. Fear Luke on his way in. We saying think it's fixed now, so yeah, maybe it was just a me problem. Well, I apologize for that, but quite frankly, I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. What I do know is this: the top two are the Mercedes combination of Bannicklash and Algieri. We do now have Jake Snowwolf, who's overtaken the Haas of Mid, who apparently is ghosted here, as well as Jag Cheb on his way out. We do have his Marsbar and Patterson both having penalties to be had here. Marsbar, 5-second penalty, which I believe was for speeding into the pit lane. Patterson second. Patterson with a 3-second penalty. English doesn't work for me, as it turns out. Patterson with a 3-second penalty here. Reimer's still saying it's not accurate, so I don't know what to believe now. Stims here, 0.3 of a second away from Nevek, making his way out of the spoon curve. Down to the inside is Stims. Wow, that was a kind of gutsy move there. Very nicely done from the Haas. And there goes Maple Ace around the outside now. Into 130R they go. And I tell you what, Maple Ace did really well. And he's going to be able to get down to the inside of Stims. No, not quite yet. Marsbar within 0.3 of a second of Algieri here as they make their way through the first corner. Fear Luke has just been overtaken by Nevek. It seems Nevek is on his way in. Medium tires. Reimer now saying it all looks good. And it looks like we're here at least with about 10 laps to go, so we'll get ourselves the final 10 laps of this Grand Prix, hopefully without terrible interruptions, which would be a very good case to be had. It does look as if we have an incident now. Oh, it's the Alfa Romeo with Patterson. Well, he's gone off a top Dunlop curve. Thankfully, it looks as if he's not hit anything, but that is severely going to demote the Alfa Romeo back down the grid. Yeah, again, it doesn't look as if he's hit anything, but that one has gotten severely close to being detrimental massively to him. It looks as if he's going to, at least for the time being, stay within the top 10. Here's Marsbar trying to find a room around Algieri here down to the inside. Again, Marsbar having the 5-second time penalty. The only way to serve that is by coming into the pit lane and getting that 5-second penalty applied to the pit stop. Marsbar is past that. He's not going to stop again. That will very much hurt his track position. 5 seconds at the moment won't do that, so he's absolutely going to stay out here and try to make a move around Algieri despite his penalty. With the aid of DRS, he might just be able to make that happen as they exit the final corner now. Down the pit straight they go. DRS activated here. Does Marsbar have anything now? He's going to try to look down to the inside. Yes, he does, and well before the corner. The Williams is going to make that spot. Very nicely done. 0.3 of a second here is Maple Ace down to the inside on Stims, and Maple Ace will promote himself to 5th. So, currently 2 Mercedes, 2 Aston Martins, and a Williams, all within the top 5. It's been a great day for those teams. At the moment, Stims still trying his best to make some sort of effort at Maple Ace here. Cheb has just gone fastest, 1:29.797. That'll be a fastest lap extra point for the Alpine driver. Meanwhile, Cheb is now within 0.6 of a second on Jake Snowwolf for that 9th spot. Does he, perhaps get closer? He's on those fresh, soft tires. Hopefully, that is what he does, although it could be wrong. Reimer sending me an image now. Lap 20 of 27. Bannicklash, Marsbar, Algieri, Rise, Maple Ace, Stims, Fear Luke, Patterson, Jake Snowwolf, Cheb, Nevek, Peak Hour, Bergen, Mid, and Yorkie. Everything looks as if it is correct from the image that Reimer has sent me. Very thank you to that. What an unbelievable, chaotic experience this game has been time and time again. Algieri, I tell you what, was probably going to have a good look at Marsbar there. Unfortunately, he's gotten some oversteer coming out of the final corner, but here he goes down to the inside, and Algieri will once again take the 2nd spot, and that will promote the Mercedes back to the 1-2 that they have so far. They started the race 1-2. It looks as if they may even finish it that way. Banniklash started on pole. Algieri up a couple of spots here since the start. Looking at the Haas of Stims at the moment, who's within 0.6 of a second on Maple Ace for the 5th spot. And despite the lobby glitches that we've seen today, this race has looked very good. And this race will absolutely have massive implications on the championship battles that we will see in the next 2 rounds to come. Again, next week in Brazil, in Sao Paulo for the penultimate round of the season. And then finally rounding it out in Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit for the final round. Again, no championships I don't think will be decided today. But I'd say what, the Mercedes getting a 1-2 finish here would definitely help them. And Reimer, unfortunately, not finishing the Grand Prix will keep the gap at 14 points heading into next round. Remember, it's only a 30-point... I believe it's only 30 points, if I'm correct. Let's see here. I have the notes here. Yeah, 30 points for taking the top spot, 25 for second. So, yeah, Reimer's going to have to wait a little bit longer to clinch that title. What we do see is Fear Luke trying to find a move around the Haas here of Stims. He's actually caught up in this battle with both Stims and Maple Ace, this being for the 5th position here, as they now make their way down the pit straight and in behind as well. We got a 4-car battle here. There's Fear Luke down to the inside on Stims, and he's going to get that spot about 150 meters before the braking zone. Stims still in pursuit, but he's looking slightly on the back foot at the moment. Marsbar ahead, closing in 0.3 of a second, and getting closer. Fear Luke was within about a 10th there going through the S-curve. That is a very tight place to try to go side by side with somebody. Heading into Degner 1 now. Tricky part of the track to go one after the other as far as braking zones are concerned. Now here goes Fear Luke looking for the right side. Is he going to get into the hairpin? Well, he's got the Haas down to the inside. As we do have, who is that off at the back? I think Patterson may have had a moment going up through Dunlop Curve once again. Once again for the 2nd spot here, although essentially the safety car is out on track? Why? Well, the safety car has decided to make its way out here with absolutely no time left. Is it because of the front wing from Patterson? I think so. Is Patterson's front wing gone? Yes, it is. And peak hour with a drive-through penalty, but it is the front wing of Patterson. The debris must still be on the circuit somewhere, as Algieri, a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Whoa. Not a good one to be had there. The safety car out on track with very little to no time remaining in the session. Maple Ace, 5-second penalty for speeding the pit lane. A lot of 5-second penalties to be had now. Peak hour, a drive-through in the Ferrari there. So next time by, we will have 4 laps to go. At the moment, the pair of Mercedes drivers retain the top 2 spots. What's going to be interesting to see is how many drivers get caught up here behind the safety car. Again, 4 laps to go. It's going to be coming in here probably at either the end of this lap or the next. At the moment, the top 3 pretty much caught up to the queue here. Marsbar is making his way through the first Degner now, so the top 3 at the very least will be in position to race each other here. Algieri with a 5-second penalty. Marsbar got rid of his, which was previously for speeding into the pit lane. Not anymore. Algieri is now on the back foot as far as the penalties are concerned. And it does look as if now we're at least going to get Rise, Fear Luke, Stims, and Maple Ace caught up to the queue here. So if we do go racing at the end of this lap, we will at least have the top 7 cars in this battle for perhaps even the win here. Of course, again, Algieri and Maple Ace having 5-second penalties apiece, both for speeding into the pit lane. But what I'm interested in is the tires. Banniklash on the mediums, Marsbar on the mediums as well. Everybody else is taking the softs. They're going to be at quite the disadvantage here, especially if we get going. If we get going green here, even not the end of this lap, even if they go the next lap, those mediums are going to be, not only are they not going to retain as much heat as the soft tires, they're just flat out going to be slower. They are these slower compound tires. So Banniklash is going to be at quite the disadvantage here if he's not able to hold on. It's going to be interesting to see if Marsbar can at least stay within time of Algieri. Again, even if Marsbar picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, all he would have to do is be within 2 seconds to at least negate some of the penalty. And in comes Maple Ace. Now, is Maple Ace getting rid of his 5-second penalty as the phone rings in the other room? Yeah. Oh, and he's picked up an additional 5-second. Back-to-back pit lane speeding penalties. Maple Ace has achieved nothing under this pit stop. He went in attempting to get rid of the 5-second penalty, and he's come in and he's picked up an additional one. Wow. That is about as unfortunate as it gets, has to be said. But what we do know is this. We're going to come in here, we're going to have, 3 laps to go? 25, 26, and 27. 3 laps to go this time by. We can go ahead and assume that the safety car is going to be in towards the end of this lap. Banniclash has had this one, I would hope, relatively... I'm hoping, as well as for the sake of being relatively correct, that that he's kind of had this one to himself for the majority of the day. From what I've seen, that's been the case. But what I've seen, at least for a good 10 laps, was just not even correct. So whether I'm right or not, it's going to be a huge question. What we do have now is, I believe, all the way down to maybe even Jag Cheb. No, it's actually the... Is that Maple Ace there back in 13th? Yes, it is. So we've got the top 13 cars caught up to the queue here. So we will have 3 laps to go. Once the safety car comes in at the end of the lap, it's going to be a massive race to the finish here. And by the way, not going to have hardly any DRS either. It's going to be for the final, corner of the race is what that's going to happen. Safety car most likely in at the end of this lap. We'll have to wait and see. And do we get the message? Yes, we do. Safety car in at the end of this lap. I'm now going to stand up as we do have the conclusion to this race here. Banniclash on the medium tires is arguably at a massive disadvantage, being that both Marsbar and Marsbar being on the mediums, but Rise being on the softs, Algieri being on the softs, his teammate, Fear Luke as well. What we do know is Banniclash has been able to get away well, being on the medium tires, even being on the off compound, still has some massive pace in that Mercedes, and now, as he backs up the grid, and finally, they are underway. We have 3 laps to go here. There goes the AlphaTauri of Jake Snow Wolf and Nivek, both trying to find routes on the inside. Not going to happen. Marsbar now trying his best, trying to find the inside of Algieri. He knows that if he gets around the Mercedes here, he's going to have a straight shot trying to get to Banniclash. Banniclash needs to get away well here towards the back. We see Maple Ace getting around Bergen down to the inside, and I think for the time being everybody gets away okay. It is still the Great Wall of Mercedes going through Dunlop Curve 1 and 2, albeit Algieri has the 5-second penalty, but for the time being those 2 cars stay ahead of the grid. But we do have as well Fear Luke under pressure, well, more or less pressuring the Aston Martin of Rise here. 0.3 of a second or less. Does anything happen into the hairpin? It's probably not going to be now. I don't think many of the drivers are in desperation mode quite yet, although they will have to be very shortly. As they make their way through 200R, we'll have to wait and see. Algieri is actually getting relatively close to his teammate here. Is he going to pressure his teammate? It doesn't look as if... Oh, but Banniclash, has he gotten... I think he had oversteer going over the curb on the outside. Algieri just then lost the back end of the car off the exit curve of the spoon corner. And now, does Marsbar try anything down to the inside? Well, I think initially he may have been close enough. And there's Fear Luke really wanted the inside line at Rise there, but going through 130R, that's just simply not going to happen with not that much room. Desperation mode not yet activated, although with 2 laps to go, Algieri, in order to even have a shot at the win today, needs to get around his teammate. But if he gets around his teammate, he knows that if Marsbar overtakes Banniclash, Marsbar will have the win of this Grand Prix outright. I mean, this is incredible from Algieri here. What does he do? Does he defend and give up his own position? Or does he try to attack and maybe, just maybe, does he sacrifice his teammate in the result of trying to have himself a better result? It's huge thinking for Algieri right now. For the time being, though, it looks as if he is backing up quite far. The grid file through Degner 1 and Degner 2. We do have stims here to the back of the Red Bull of Fear Luke. And again, for the time being, doesn't look as if anybody's going to try a desperation move into the hairpin. Not now, at least. Although as they exit the corner, it did look as if Rise didn't get the best way out. Maybe is Fear Luke going to have an ability to overtake the Aston Martin here as they make their way towards the spoon curve. We do have the two AlphaTauri and the Haas side by side here. Jake Snowwolf had the inside temporarily. Kind of got himself sorted out there for the time being. Fear Luke now 0.2 of a second. This is where he almost got around Rise last time by. He will now go down to the inside, and the Red Bull will get the spot prior to 130R, but there's Rise down to the inside. Contact is made. Into the chicane they go. Still contact being made, and somehow Rise ended up keeping the spot out of all of that. We are on now the final lap of the Grand Prix. Remember, DRS is activated at the tail end of the lap. There is Marsbar round the outside of Algieri, and he has gotten the spot now. He has 2 seconds between himself and trying to get to Banniclash, and Rise and Fear Luke were battling into the corner, and Rise has gone wide. Patterson is retired, that being in the pit lane, I believe. I'm hoping. A huge queue of drivers here, the two AlphaTauris within a couple of tenths of each other. Banniclash has a 2-second advantage over Marsbar for the top spot. Algieri will be losing several positions here. At the moment, he still has about 2 seconds over Fear Luke. That's not going to be enough. He's still going to be losing spots to both Stims, Rise, probably Jake Snowwolf, and at least Nevek as well. Ahead of him, though, here goes Jake Snowwolf round the outside of Rise going into the corner. Nevek trying his best to at least hold his line. Jake Snowwolf went clean down the inside, and Rise will get demoted to 7, but here they go. They're side by side now. They have a yellow flag, I believe, towards the back somewhere. Nevek down to the inside of Rise, and they make contact, and he goes around. And now, Banniclash has spun out of position, and out of complete nowhere, Marsbar is going to win this Grand Prix. Banniclash, forgive me for not being able to see that, but Banniclash had a 2-second advantage. He spun it all the way, and Marsbar takes the win. I just have absolutely no idea what's happened there. How has Banniclash lost the car? Was that coming out of the spoon curve? Unfortunately, we couldn't see it, but again, he had such an advantage over Marsbar. This is absolutely surprising here. It's the Marsbar Williams that has taken the win here. Fear Luke second, Stims third, Jake Snowwolf up to fourth, fifth is Rise, sixth Algieri, and it was the Mercedes we didn't expect that lost all the positions. What an incredible ending to that Grand Prix. There's just no way. And by the way, a track that, typically doesn't even provide that unbelievable racing, once again proves me wrong. And we had a great one there. And I'm just reading the Discord now. It was a fuel issue for Banniclash that cost him the win. Unbelievable. Yet runs out of fuel in the spoon curve with a sector to go. That is about as unlucky as it gets right there. And your final results here in Japan, Marsbar taking the win, Fear Luke second, Stims third, Jake Snowwolf fourth, fifth was Rise, sixth Algieri, seventh is Cheb, eighth Maple Ace, ninth is Nevek, 10th is Banniclash after running out of fuel on the final lap, having a 2-second advantage at the spoon curve. Peak hour 11th, 12th is Yorkie, 13th is Mid, 14th Bergen, 15th Patterson, who retired. And unfortunately for Patterson and the rest, they did not find the end of the Grand Prix there. I am just absolutely in awe of the events that have transpired here. Well, if you've been watching this whole time, very much appreciate y'all sticking around. Next week we head to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And if it's anything like this, we've got ourselves one heck of a championship conclusion to have. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you on the call. We will see you next week.